Well, hello there, digital warriors. Welcome to the Patriotic Pitbull's YouTube channel. I am the Patriotic Pitbull, and we were gonna actually be on a different forum today, this morning, and yesterday, and the day before, but due to some scheduling conflicts and some other things, we are not. So for those of you that were tuned in to the Patriot Soapbox here on YouTube, you didn't miss nothing. We weren't there, and thank you for asking and commenting and emailing us here at the network. We want to talk about censorship today. This is going to be a short video, but it's an important video. Now, in the last 24, 48, 72 hours, you have heard about Alex Jones and InfoWars being censored, taken down off of Apple and Twitter and all the different platforms that have censored them. It's censorship, folks. Now, this has been going on for years in this country, and I want to share with you something. This is all part of the mind control that has been going on and is going on right now. You might say, Pitbull, you're crazy, dude. No, and I'm going to show you right now. Let's go ahead and pull up whatever, go to any, you can go ahead and go to your normal web browser. Go to stopthecrime.net. Now, here at stopthecrime.net, this is an excellent website that I found in some research. There is all kinds of stuff here about 5G and population engineering and stuff like that. These are facts that are brought to you. You can research them and look them up if you so choose. We are not telling you how to feel. We are just showing you where there's information. Now, when we got to this website, we brought this up before on another video. It may have been taken down in our censorship here on this platform and others. But the Aquarius Group Operation Briefing. Now, let me pull this up. Here it is, 51 pages. I would encourage you to go to here and read this. Download it, print it out. This is important. Now, it's important to note the Aquarius Group Operations is the primary control group of mind control procedures. And similar to Majestic 12, the Aquarius Group is a secret committee of scientists, military leaders, government officials, and are many of the same corporate agencies involved in the NASA war plan, which are all behind these programs. Yes, it's true, folks. The Aquarius Group now uses new procedures for mass manipulation and mind control, which are more reliable and successful than earlier methods, since those implementing the manipulations are able to maintain complete anonymity. Look at that again. Their systems are more reliable and more successful than earlier methods. It is developing. Now, few people have ever had possession of this Aquarius Group briefing. One person held it for years and knew that this briefing document contained a small punctuation error. That is a very typical covert operation method of operation back in the day with typewriters and such. Those that knew would make different editing errors on purpose. And if you read this entire report, they are in there. You can see it. But that person is now dead. It's time to use the information to stop this diabolical plot. Now, you can go to here. They talk about electromagnetic radio wave, and now this is notes for the pages in conjunction to this briefing. Electromagnetic radio wave and microwave pulse mind warfare has great advantages in that a desired subject or population has no knowledge of the procedure being implemented. That's on page 1. Page 2, about mind control with chemical weapons. Now, mind you, this report was, as best as we can tell, from the early 90s. And that's when this person had gotten a hold of this document. There is a reference to 2000, 2003. That's when the powers that be, call them whatever you want, that's their timetable initially, but it didn't happen, okay? So right here again, they were hoping for full implementation between 1990 and 1995, right there, okay? It's been going on since World War II that we know of as far as this group's activities are concerned. Now, and again, I wanted to make this, we can get into this particular briefing a whole lot. Again, go to stopthecrime.net. That's where this link is to this. Now, you'll see, some scribbling there up at the top. Now, look at how this starts. The information to follow is meant to be an outline to give PSYOP personnel a brief background and introduction into modern PSYOP warfare. Our purpose in briefing COM unit personnel is to educate concerned team members in sources and methods of early mind control procedures and the latest projects and operations dealing with mind control at present day capabilities. So again, this report, early 90s, came out. Now, I want to bring this part up. Mind control procedures in their infancy involved rather crude and blatant processes using hypnotic programming, thereby allowing the conscious mind to be aware of at least the original process of programming through hypnosis. While greatly successful in some cases, these early methods had a high failure ratio when done in large population bases. Okay? So singularly, it was easy to do hypnosis-wise, but you can't do it on a big group, okay? Now, through years of field experimentation, a large number of chemical components were utilized in these operations. It is verified that ingestion and or exposure to certain chemicals and drugs, polypharmaceuticals, greatly enhanced the hypno-programming operations. The most successful of these tests are still used even in today in some areas of enhancement or, if applicable, elimination of certain memory areas in personnel involved in highly sensitive or, quote, need to know, unquote, areas of government or contract employment. With the same procedures used to eliminate memory, an individual's memory can be instantly recalled and even enhanced according to the need of the agency to maintain strictest confidence in a desired area. If that alone doesn't scare you, well, then keep on reading this report. That's only page 1, ladies and gentlemen. Digital Warriors, this report will change the way you look at the world. If it doesn't, then it should definitely make you look at how some things are going on here in this place that we call the sphere called Earth. Now, I want to go, now this first part here, the first few pages, this is about, this is the first interviews of the first hypnosis patient. So you get through a bunch of these pages, and again, here's some mentioning of the Reagan administrations, Bush administrations, stuff like this. Now, I want to take you just for the sake of this video, again, to keep it simple, this one, I want to get down to page number 16. Okay, and I'm doing these brief little bullet points here so that it might just inspire you to read this thing. Okay, I've read this about 10 different times, and I just am amazed each time I read it, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I wanted to bring this to you. Here we go to page 16. Okay, now this is ending again. This is the interviews. In fact, I might even say this series of interviews is of interest to the PSYOPs and appropriate intelligence teams for obvious reasons. This is clearly traceable case file in which an average person with no previous mental aberrations or disproportional prejudice was programmed by the agency in question to produce an agent known as a sleeper, okay? They have determined at this point that you can hypnotize somebody to be a sleeper. Sleeper cells, a sleeper agent. This sleeper's built-in sub-personality and alter ego could be activated and utilized to carry out the agency agenda. Again, whatever agency it is. Here we go. It is also a perfect demonstrative test to the agency itself to see firsthand just what the full capacity of this type of training or programming was back in the early days of the establishment of mind warfare. That is, successful alternation of an individual's mind and subsequently conscious action and reaction. This program was a direct result of the saturation which took place within the U.S. intelligence community by German intelligence and PSYOP experts when the OSS CIA first brought the Reinhard Gehlen organization here from Germany after World War II. Please look at Operation Paperclip. I'll tell you that right now. We already know this, people. The great strides and success that German intelligence had with similar operations was strongly desired by the CIA and hoped that it could duplicate and continue this success in its own theater of operations. This is right after World War II. The CIA was hoping it could duplicate and continue this success in its own theater of operations. Another individual who was the subject of mind control was a gentleman by the name of Castillo. Most agents will know this name from prior case study in this field. In an interview of him by the Philippine Security Service, after being arrested for suspicious activity, Castillo revealed that he had been approached with the offer of assignments to assassinate Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos as well as President John F. Kennedy. Now, while being interviewed under hypnosis, Mr. Castillo demonstrated a particularly strange behavior. Whenever his name was called on cue, Castillo would pull out a phantom gun and mimic the actions of killing himself. Yeah. Now I want to bring light to page number 27. Okay. Now, page number 27. You see here, right here is a purposeful error. Okay. Now I want you to look at this right here as I read this. Okay, because this is important here. Oh, look at that name, right? Did I hear that I just pulled up off of page 26? But I wanted to bring it light to page 27. I'm telling you, this is explosive. Now we've gone through a couple of, there's some more stuff here, but now we get to originally the quest for Sirhan. Yeah, Sirhan. Originally, the quest for Sirhan's programmer had been no more successful than the search for Amelia Earhart until Dr. Herbert Spiegel supplied a valuable lead. Anything mentioned in the presence of a subject under hypnosis is automatically etched into his mind, especially if it comes out from the hypnotist. What can be remembered might also flow out at any time. And this brought searchers back to the notebooks containing Sirhan's, quote, automatic writing, unquote. There's a whole bunch in here about he just would start to write something while he was under hypnosis. Indeed, there was a passage which strongly stood out due to the fact that, unlike the others, it had nothing to do with the horses, politics, money, or past acquaintances. Now, this is, again, I want you to read this. It's in this report, that particular part that we're talking about there. It read, God help me, please help me. Salvo de Salvo, de Salvo. The reference, it is believed, was to Albert DeSalvo, the notorious Boston Strangler. That case had been cracked by the use of hypnotism. The hypnotist responsible for this was William Joseph Bryan Jr. of Los Angeles. Bryan billed himself as possibly the best leading expert in the world on the use of hypnosis in criminal law. He often boasted about being constantly called in on unusual cases by various law enforcement agencies, including the LAPD. Boston Strangler case was his tour de force, and he incessantly mentioned it. An imposing man with a wrestler's girth, Bryan claimed he was once a drummer with the Tommy Dorsey Band, as well as a commercial airline pilot. During the Korean War, he was able to put his hypnotic skills to use as, quote, chief of all medical survival training, unquote, for the United States Air Force, which basically meant the, quote, brainwashing section, unquote. After the war, he became a consultant for the CIA and the agency's projects concerning mind control and behavior modification. Refusing any and all memberships in traditional medical societies, Bryan started his own medical and hypnotherapy practice on the Sunset Strip in Hollywood, which he named the American Institute of Hypnosis. He used this as a GS for, wide-ranging symposiums on such topics as successful treatments of sexual disorders. Now, what I wanted to bring this to light was there is, if you haven't seen it already, notice that it's Bryan here, Bry 1 there, okay? And then there's back to Bryan down here, okay? So there is validation and of the purposeful clerical errors. Now I want to go down to 34 and 35. Again, there's some very, very interesting stuff in here, people, in what I'm passing over. And the stuff I'm just hitting at here, I want to hopefully inspire you to at least read this. If you don't, you should really, it's easier if you download it. It's, again, 50 pages. This is huge, folks. I don't know why it took me. I didn't understand at first why it was so hard to find this, and now I get it. So we're at 34 and 35 here. This was now we're into the 80s, early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. The Center for the Study of Reduction of Violence was to be set up to develop behavioral indicators, profiles, and biological correlates to assist school administrators, law enforcement personnel, and governmental departments to detect and control overt expression of life-threatening behavior by identifiable individuals and groups. The proposed center was to be under the direction of the prestigious Neuropsychiatric Institute of the University of California at Los Angeles, also known as UCLA. This was approved by then California Governor Ronald Reagan. Okay. Center would be the prototype for other such facilities in different locations throughout the country. This particular center at UCLA was to be funded by the state of California and the Law Enforcement Assistant Administration, which is no longer in existence. For the first time publicly in the United States, criterion were to be set up for the labeling of individuals who were believed to be potential criminals without the individual in question ever having committed any crime. It was apparent that these procedures were quite purposefully rigged against those individuals in the community who were the most vulnerable and the least able to protect themselves or seek legal assistance, or, in the appropriate cases, medical assistance when necessary. Those to be drawn upon for a variety of experimentation were children, all minorities, and state and federal prisoners. Think ghetto, think prison system, the institutionalized prison system, the private institutional prison system we have currently in this country. Think about that for a second. Formation of the UCLA Center was officially announced in September of 1972 by Dr. Louis Julian West, director of the Neuropsychiatric Institute, who is also under the employment of the CIA as director of the overall program. Prior to his agency involvement, Dr. West had come to considerable prominence as the youngest director of the Department of Psychiatry at the University of Oklahoma. Dr. West became an interest to the intelligence community because of his experimentation with LSD. Due to covert CIA tests with LSD on public citizenry, Dr. West was looked at as a possible valuable asset to the directors of MK Ultra programs such as Artichoke, Bluebird, and Chime. In one operation, known as Big City, the CIA adapted the tailpipe of a 1953 Mercury by extending it 18 inches over its normal length. That's 1.5 feet. It was then driven for a total distance of 80 miles around New York City, emitting a gas of LSD in order to study its effect on innocent citizens who came in direct contact with the gas. Big City was carried out once a week for close to a year. In another operation, operatives would travel on New York City subways with battery-operated emission apparatus in briefcases to see if the LSD could be secretly administered to individuals in a confined space and what its effect would be. The agents themselves wore nasal filter cartridges inserted high into the sinus cavity prior to the operation. On another occasion, a biological chemical gas was released into a fog bank off the Golden Gate Bridge. Yes, San Francisco, known as Fog City, USA, right? In order to test the effects of disorientation of a large part of the population. However, a sudden shift in the wind blew the gas away and dissipated it before any effects could be monitored. So literally a bunch of fish got high right then. These are prime examples of the Nazi influence of Reinhard Gehlen's and the SS tactics on U.S. intelligence agencies and their willingness to clandestinely use the population as guinea pigs for test operations. An early connection between the Nazi war machine and its influence in designing the U.S. intelligence agenda is the role of the IG Farben Company. Digital warriors, this is important. IG Farben was the original creator of the drug known as heroin, made from raw opium, which certain groups within today's CIA and other agencies, including Black Rose, import and export from the Golden Triangle and Golden Crescent areas in order to fund their covert world black operations agendas. In addition, under the Nazi regime, IG Farben also created a drug now known as methadone. The original name for methadone, as given by Farben during World War II, was Dolophine, named in honor of Adolf Hitler. Albert Hoffman and Hoffman La Roche Pharmaceuticals and later Sandoz Labs, which initially discovered what would soon be known as LSD, were originally under contract of the German IG Farben company. Now, if that's not enough, let me go down a few more pages because, wait a minute, where is it? Page 38. But what do my wondering eyes do I see? Now, this is something I personally have been studying for a long time and I had my suspicions, but this just validated it. Partially as a consequence of pressure from civil liberties organizations, the LEAA, that's that law enforcement group again, announced that it had banned the use of its funds for psychosurgery, medical research, and behavior modification, including aversion therapy and chemotherapy. Chemotherapy. In the years to follow this agency embarrassment, it would once again be necessary to keep complete ultra or umbra security restrictions on any operations which would involve the use of the general public. This would mean not even cover operations personnel would have any knowledge of the true nature of the program or operation. Strict and absolute secrecy was the condition of the day. This was especially true under the Director of Central Intelligence and his personal policy under President Gerald Ford, George Bush. In 1973, just after the CIA's redirection in the next stage of testing and development of the MK Ultra and related operations, it was decided that religious cults best represented a new and virtually foolproof operations platform in which further mind control technologies. That's how we get them farther, is with some religious cults. What was going on in the 70s? Cults, yeah. Several religious sects and cults were examined by the agencies for their possible utilization by the CIA in top secret studies of mind control operations. Now, for you guys looking, I don't know what has been not scanned onto this, but it doesn't really matter too much. In late 1973, under this new focus of the CIA, deep cover operative George Philip Blakey made the initial $650,000 deposit for purchase of what would now become known as the People's Temple in Guyana under the management of Reverend Jim Jones. During this period, Jones moved his People's Temple from California to Guyana, where the agency felt it would be isolated and kept away from public or government scrutiny, which might interfere with the operation. Jones himself was already well known to many in California government. Among other things, he had been the housing commissioner of San Francisco. The CIA operations specialists were enthusiastic about the People's Temple's operation. Like the abortive UCLA Center for the Study of Violent Behavior, the People's Temple membership, and real quick, the UCLA Center for the Study of Violent Behavior, that is up in here in this report. Again, go read this entire thing, download it, share it with your friends. Like the abortive UCLA Center for the Study of Violent Behavior, the People's Temple membership was largely black and impoverished, while the upper management under Jones was all white. Coming out of the 60s into the 70s, that wasn't a big deal then, but it is important to note. There was also help from within California state government to assist in building up Jones's power base. Among those assisting was Ukiah District Attorney Tim Stone, who was largely responsible for acquiring state mental patients, wards of the state, etc., and turning them over to the People's Temple to act as their guardian. Many of the same interests in the UCLA Center were also displayed, Many of the same interests in the UCLA Center also displayed interest in the People's Temple operation. Dan Mitrione was another key player who aided the agency in its operations base of the People's Temple. Mitrione was an associate of Jones in the early days of the temple. Mitrione was a former Midwestern police chief who went to work for the CIA. He was involved in the instruction of torture, brainwashing, and public terrorism to government soldiers and security teams in countries such as Bolivia, Uruguay, and Brazil for the purposes of establishing and perpetuating the national security state. How many times have you heard that? Jim Jones was known to have a long history with Mitrione as they were childhood friends and had grown up together. In addition, Jones was in Brazil in 1962 at the same time that Mitrione was there, instructing Brazilian security services in extraction of information from political prisoners, torture, etc. Their friendship was rekindled during this period. Prior to this time together in Brazil, they had last been involved with each other in Evansville, Indiana, where Jones made his start in religious evangelism by studying the methods and practices of a black evangelist known as Father Divine. Father Divine was also known as a fraud and a con man. On November 18th, 1978, more than 900 people allegedly committed suicide in Jonestown, leaving over 200 more people unaccounted for to this day, as 1,100 passports had been issued to temple members to travel to Guyana. Officials later stated to the press that only 900 passports had been issued. Of those 900 individuals, over 2/3 of them were either shot, strangled, or showed injection or puncture marks on their body. Contrary to what all established media said at the time, very few actually died from self-administered cyanide-laced Kool-Aid. And that's the truth. And from the research I particularly have done, it wasn't Kool-Aid, it was Flavor Aid. Remember, they're doing this on the cheap. Don't get them Kool-Aid. What was true was that the Jonestown massacre was indeed precipitated by the visit and consequent murder of the Congressman Leo Ryan of San Mateo, California. The reason was simple. The People's Temple and Jonestown were placed in Guyana for two reasons. The first and foremost was this operation was the agency's long-nurtured test case for clandestine operational mind control away from the jurisdiction and scrutiny of the regular arm of the U.S. government and the public. This operation served as an ideal controlled operations base for MK Ultra programs. The second reason is that the People's Temple was serving as the enforcers for the intelligence arm of the clandestine U.S. power base to support an extremely unpopular government. The basic indigenous population of Guyana was intimidated by Jones and his followers, who openly supported the local government in power. Think guerrillas. Not guerrillas, but like guerrillas, Guerrilla. The U.S. government's deputy chief of missions in Guyana was an individual by the name of Richard Dwyer. Dwyer was also the CIA's chief of station for that area. Dwyer accompanied Leo Ryan's party on their visit to Jonestown, and you'll see him in videos too. As far as Ryan was concerned, Dwyer was accompanying his group as a concerned representative of the U.S. government. In reality, Dwyer was along to observe Ryan and his party to oversee any interviews and investigations carried out by the group, thereby ascertaining if any agency interests or operations were discovered or were in danger of exposure by the congressman and his party. In one of the tapes, which were recorded by the Reverend Jim Jones himself, and that was his practice, it can clearly be heard in the Jonestown chaos as Congressman Ryan's group left for the airport that several times Jones yells the order to his aides to, quote, "Get Mr. Dwyer out of here, quickly," unquote. In actuality, Dwyer remained in Jonestown as Congressman Ryan's party as ambushed at the airport. It is also known that Dwyer observed the massacre that followed. It's well known in certain intelligence organizations of deep black operations that several, quote, clean teams, unquote, were summoned from nearby locations several hours prior to Congressman Ryan leaving Jonestown for the airport. And if you go back and do your research on Jonestown, the people of Jonestown kept hanging this group up and hanging this group up and hanging this group up as they were trying to get people out of there. As they watched the situation deteriorate rather quickly the previous night, which is when Leo Ryan had told people, hey, we're going to leave in the morning. We're getting out here, and if you want to go, you can go with us. The agency had decided to bring clean teams into the area. CIA operations agent George Philip Blakey was also acting as Reverend Jones' top contact and aide. Blakey was instrumental in establishing Jones and his followers in Jonestown away from the scrutiny of U.S. agencies or family members of the People's Temple cult. Blakey, with CIA orders, helped arrange for and complete the purchase of the property that would become Jonestown. Blakey also worked for the agency on assignment in Angola in 1975 with UNITA. And it goes on and on how far these people are embedded with each other. Now, what I wanted to take you to was the very last page of this. This talks about all the cool different mind control stuff that we're doing to people. Now, I believe it's right about in here somewhere as we're getting to the end of this report. And I was trying to make this one quick, but there's so much in here. It even goes into Scientology. Yeah. And why L. Ron Hubbard, longtime Navy man, worked for some time with the Office of Naval Intelligence. It's in Robert Hubbard's Scientology primer, The Science for Survival, that all humankind is rated on a numbered scale. The scale itself is known as the Hubbard chart of human evolution and Dianetic processing. And this is very interesting if you know anything about Scientology and such. But what I wanted to show here real quick, if you don't go any farther than anything, or you just see this video, let's see. Here we go. This is getting to the very last page of this. It's a plan of the Aquarius Group operations and the circle of 7 CEOs to implement these various forms of mind control to augment a basic intolerance of each other under whatever guise is necessary. This will eventually lead to internal unrest and an occupation by United Nations forces who will be under orders to keep the peace of the host country. To conclude this outline briefing is an overview of mind control programs which have been successful in the past and are currently underway. The operative must be aware of the impact and implications of this method of PSYOP warfare. Aquarius Group operations, as part of a current agenda, has been very successful under projects Reach and Belfry in programming and queuing selected individuals who have, in turn, carried out program procedure and opened fire on other civilians in public areas all across the United States. It is part of Aquarius operations to bring this about in more of a repetitive pattern over a period of many years in order to increase the callous disregard for human life by others who reside in high population density zones. Especially targeted are large urban areas where street gangs are prevalent. In the overall scenario of senseless and unprovoked killings increasing as time passes, the Aquarius operation feels they will eventually condition the public to welcome the eventual confiscation of firearms, setting of curfews, mandatory barcode IDs, which will be subdermally inserted, and general areas of martial law. Now it refers to Rex 84, King Alfred, Cable Splice, and Garden Plot. For those of you not familiar with Rex 84 is the readiness exercise of 1984. It's in the name right there. It was a U.S. government drill and scenario to detain large numbers of American citizens deemed to be a threat. King Alfred was the same as Rex 84, but that dealt with climate change, coincidentally. We're going to talk about that in just a second, too, as we get this video wrapped up here. Cable Splicer, that was a subprogram of Rex 84, but Cable Splicer had to do with a mass exodus coming from Mexico and how we, as the American government, would put them all in FEMA camps. And Garden Plot was a Department of Defense, that's the civil disturbance plan, and that was developed in the 60s to combat civil disorder then. But now that's under the control, the Garden Plot deal, DOD is under Northcom now. Northcom and NORAD. Yeah, look that up. That's real deal stuff. It is felt among the erosion of constitutional rights will be readily accepted by the majority in return for government promises of elimination of gang killings, mass killings by lone gunmen, and termination of drug trafficking in all areas. Let me read that again. It is felt among many that the erosion of constitutional rights will be readily accepted by the majority in return for government promises of elimination of gang killings, mass killings by lone gunmen, and termination of drug trafficking in all areas. Projects Watchtower, Poppy, and Ultra will then also play important roles in sedation of the population through various chemical, biological, and radio frequency manipulation in order to achieve the overall goal of a one world ruling structure by the year 2000 to 2003. Said that in the beginning that the dates are a little off, and my personal belief and a few on the team is that had to do with how quick technology took off, and the powers that be didn't realize that once the public had it, what we were going to do with it. These factors, in conjunction with Aquarius Group operations plans to institute a one world religion of an extremely right-wing side of Christian fundamentalism, which is currently increasing in even such countries as China and the Russian Republic, okay? They want a fundamentalist Christian power, and the other will be a fundamentalist Islamic power. Think caliphate. These philosophies, as well as the struggle for decreasing water supplies, will be the future reasons for world conflict. Now, there is, I think it's in here, and yes, I do believe it's up in here. Yes. Now, if you get up into right here, this is page 47 of this report. Okay. Let me, and this has to do with, you know, some chemtrails and some other stuff. Individuals who, this is the end of 46 into 47. I'm going to make this I'm going to make this part short. I'm going to show you a picture and I'm going to carry on with this video. Individuals who have implemented proper meditation methods and training are more difficult to allocate. Individuals who have access to or regularly use marijuana or opiates on any regular basis also represent a problem in control and manipulation. This is due to the reaction and stimulus in which the human brain, or in the human brain, that occurs with the use of these substances, which provides an immunity of sorts to these operation techniques. The federal agency's attempts to eradicate this problem in its war on drugs is having some success in supply rates of marijuana and opiates. It is interesting that the so-called drug war has had little effect on the supply of cocaine and methamphetamines, as these can only enhance the effects of the manipulation instead of decreasing it as opiates will. However, complete control of the distribution of all undesirable drugs for use in general public population bases cannot currently be completely eradicated. Chemical control bases in public population will be present in 95% of the population base. Those individuals who may not be affected by frequency control due to the usage of certain drugs will most likely negate their immunity with the chemical base they have built up over the years and their everyday use and exposures to those agents on the CB, Chemical and Biological Control Base listing. This is what I wanted to talk to you about. This is important. Here we go. This is one of the most important things that I wanted to bring to your attention with this report. With a general ignorance through arrogance of most public population in the U.S., the erection of large cellular towers being carried out under Operation High Tone and Zeno are largely going completely unnoticed. These projects are being carried out in private business capacities and therefore in deep black operations cover. However, public populations would be wise to educate themselves in the construction of these seemingly innocent towers in large population areas. The cellular 800 megahertz waves are a constant wave. Due to the great proliferation of towers in key population areas, they will have a devastating effect when utilized by Aquarius Group operations if the condition persists. See photographs on attached. Here's the very last page of this report. That's the top. You guys have seen these all over. Sometimes they're disguised as a tree. Sometimes they're disguised as cactuses. Sometimes they're disguised as whatever. But that's what these are. I can't say it any more than pay attention. Now, back to the censorship deal. If you folks think that the Patriotic Pitbull News Network doesn't know what we're talking about, let me turn you over now to this wonderful website, truthstreammedia.com. Again, this is alt media. This is not mainstream media. This is more people like us doing what they do. And this is a husband and wife team. They do some great, great stuff. They just finally got their new film out, The Minds of Men. Wonder what that's about? Well, that has to do with MK Ultra, manipulation, mind control, stuff like that. And for those of you that are listening going, yeah, we know this stuff. Well, you know what? If you thought you knew it all, this film will do you wonders. It's like $4 to rent. You can pre-order the DVD. The DVD might even be available now. This is a great video to watch. Or just go to truthstreammedia.com and just watch some of these videos. Go over here, click on it, find them on YouTube. It's a great channel, great channel. If you like them, please do support them as you would any of the free media. But now, what I wanted to get to was this whole, remember I was talking about censorship earlier, okay? This whole censorship deal. This isn't new, but the powers that be want us to be goldfish. They want us to be idiots. Well, I'm not an idiot, okay? I don't know about you, but I was alive and I remember this happening, okay? I'm going to play this video. It's a short little video here. Okay? This wasn't that long ago. This is on YouTube. Giuseppe M. published this, so let's just play his video here. Well, there's this whole video. Hopefully it's coming out. This happened before, people. And again, if it was quiet right there, I'm not sure, because this is that's kind of the struggle's real when you're you know, kind of getting new to this stuff. As far as I usually have my team with me, and they are some of them are working. You know how that goes. But anyways, Dee Snider, Twisted Sister, they all came up, remember, and this was again in the 80s. And they came out, and this was the what were they called? The parental music, there it is, Parents Music Resource Center. Okay, and they came out and they were, oh, we got to censor all this music. And look, Wasp has a song called Fuck Like a Beast. There was also, they wanted to get Prince's darling Nikki, Sheena Easton's Sugar Walls, because they're just so sexual. And then that's how we ended up getting this stupid parental advisory stickers on the front of your albums and such. Okay, well, let's not confuse what the heck was really going on there. Okay, we all know what was going on there. That was to build up Al Gore. That was to get Al Gore's name in. And if you watch Dee Snider, I would encourage you folks, go back, look at what was going on back then, and look who was asking stuff. Dee Snider hands Al Gore, I was going to say it, he hands him his ass, because he does. Dee Snider is smart, he was educated, and that was a whole big movement to get Al Gore up into the mainstream populace's name. And then, look, he ran for president, and what happened? But what happened? Now Al Gore's still running on this stupid climate change thing that we all know he's full of crap on. People, this is it's a psyop, okay? They're trying to mess with our minds here as far as, look over here, don't pay attention over here. Look over here, don't pay attention over here. Here, I'm going to put something up over here. I'm going to do something else over here. Pay attention, okay? Also, there's a lot of really good patriots putting groups together and our own platforms and such. My team's working really hard to get our own platforms up instead of using YouTube and Facebook. Again, quit using these things. YouTube, we got to kind of still use it, but they're censoring us. So there are other media outlets that do this. We have the technology now. We don't need your corporate America. Start voting with your dollars. Get off of Facebook. Go to oneway.com. Independent. It's not censored. Okay. Patriotic Pitbull is going to get a page up there, and if not today, tomorrow, because we had one up there and we took it down because we were part of their beta testing, and now the beta testing's done. So get over there. Go check it out. But don't believe what we have to say here. Don't believe everything you see. Check it out. Do your own research. I'm not trying to tell you how to feel. My team isn't trying to tell me what to say here to get our message out. Our message is, you have the power. The information is there. And that's the easiest way to hide something. You've heard that saying. If I want to hide something from somebody, where do you hide it? Right in plain sight. Okay? Pay attention. This censorship thing, this is important, and they want us to just sugarcoat this whole thing, and this is about Alex Jones, and if you see my InfoWars shirt, yeah, they're trying to make this out to be that this is about him and some hate speech stuff. When the same companies will back Antifa and all these other groups that we have dead to rights, they'll let the Clintons stay on, they'll let all this BS narrative that they're trying to throw down our throats, my throat and your throat. We've all been janked. We've all been duped. But with stuff like this beautiful report, okay, that we were just going over, I'm telling you, read this thing. And that's just one that I have. That's just one that I have researched and looked at. I already knew about MK Ultra. Do you know about MK Ultra? You should. Do you know about Operation Paperclip? You should. You know, we didn't go to the moon. There's no damn way we could have got through the Van Allen radiation belts. Don't tell me we went to the moon. But I know we got a space station up there. Look up orbit and stuff, okay? Pay attention, people. We have, you see this behind me? That's the red, white, and blue, stars and stripes. That's our flag. We have to defend the country now from the tyrannical people that are trying to take it from us. You've heard it before, and you're going to hear it again. Patriots are mad. Now, I'm not going to let you down. I don't want you to let me down. Do your research. You got some comments, put them there underneath. You can email us, the team email, patrioticpitbull5150@hotmail.com. Also, you can find us, you can find the blog or the podcast at SoundCloud. You can also find us still on Facebook for a little while. And I would encourage you again, look at all these free speech, alt media sites. Find some that you like. Do research. Compare them. Okay? You're going to find that there's people that are speaking the truth. You'll find that there's people that are trying to speak lies. You'll find that there's people that are masking themselves as patriots who aren't. But you're smart. You know. Okay? And I'm counting on you. Because I know you're counting on me, and I'm not going to let you down. Stay vigilant. Make sure your house is in order. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. And may God bless America. And I also wanted to say, while you're saying your prayers or whatnot, make sure that you keep the country, the president, and all of us patriots in your thoughts and prayers. We need them. I'll keep you in mind too. Till the next video, we're out.